Okay, friends. Hey, good morning. Welcome. Thanks so much for coming in. I so do appreciate you. Um, Hello from downtown Fairbury. Good morning, John. Good morning. Thanks so much for listening there in Fairbury. This is one of the stories I'm going to be hitting this morning. An Oregon drag queen and former teacher's aide, and I've been making it a point to try to pull stories like this every day, so that way you understand the likelihood that your child will become a victim of child sex crime if left in the hands of activists. J- just the bottom line, okay, folks. Um, so there was a drag performer and an LGBT activist who was convicted of nearly a dozen felony child sex crimes. We're going to be talking about that story. Also, I do want to talk about the Bloomington story. I'll share it here with you. This is so sad, and my prayers go out to the family. This is a story about, um, and you can check it out on our website. And folks, we're getting several reports from our newsroom. We have yet to hear word back from the police department, but we have gotten several reports at this point where this body was found in Kamlara Park, to where I feel comfortable saying that we've received several reports of this being found in Kamlara Park. Um, but that has yet to be confirmed. So Melissa Ostrom, she was found yesterday dead. There's an autopsy being done. There's an investigation ongoing. The circumstances behind this incident are still pending. The Bloomington Police Department, McLean County Coroner's Office, they're working on an autopsy, and I'm hoping that we can get more information um, here to just know what happened. She was just 39 years old. Tragic story, tragic. There was also another local story, Morton. I think there was this massive fire in Morton, Illinois, at Morton Industries. Don't know if that affects any of you, but my prayers go up. I think the blaze has been taken care of. There was also this fire that completely destroyed this kitchen on Truman Drive in the Greenbrier subdivision. Heavily damaged kitchen left this home uninhabitable. No one was injured, so shout out to the firemen for getting that fire under control within about 10 minutes. Um, wow. They also rescued two guinea pigs in their cage and brought them to safety. All human occupants safely evacuated before the arrival of the um, fire department. So they saved some guinea pigs too. So that's always a great story. 309-451-9299. If you guys want to be a part of the show, you can text in or even call me. Call me this morning. We're going to get to a few stories. Specifically, one that I want to get to is this Alec Baldwin story. I know this should enrage you just like it enrages me. Um, just like Anthony Fauci, Alec Baldwin is getting off on the shooting charges. Fauci is getting off on censoring people on Twitter, and Alec Baldwin is getting off on these shooting charges where his own negligence with a firearm led to killing his staffer, Helena Hutchins. And we live in a regime, folks. We live in a regime. You can see me live in the studio, folks. If you'd like to subscribe, share out this video with all of your friends, it's important that this information gets out. I don't know how y'all get your news every day, because a lot of these stories get buried by the mainstream. Just like this story, there has been multiple arrests made. I think we're at 6 arrests made in this Alabama Sweet 16 shooting, and authorities announced this sixth this sixth person was arrested, um, but the court records were not released because of this person's age. So it's a young 15-year-old juvenile. And, I want to get into this because CNN, the mainstream, they're not covering this to the extent of which they're covering this one story about Andrew Lester, and Ralph Yarl. And I think that this is this is probably one of the biggest, largest mass shootings to happen this year. There were, um, oh gosh, how many people? 4 people slain. Oh gosh, my heart. 32 people injured. Of the 32 people injured, 4 of them were injured critically. Uh, the shooting killed 4 young people ranging from 17 to 23. This was at a Sweet 16 birthday party at a dance studio in this small little town in Alabama. Just a small little town. And there's been 6 people charged in this case. Um, and nobody's talking about it. Why? Because it doesn't fit the narrative. Because all the suspects are black, and the guns, right, obtained here in this case illegally. So it doesn't fit the narrative. They're not going to talk about it. They're also not going to talk about the shooting of this Louisville bank shooter, where it was so funny. I mean, not funny, but almost sad, almost a disservice. You have the governor getting out there and saying, yeah, Louisville, I think it's a safe place. Are you kidding me right now? Y'all have a higher homicide rate than Chicago at this point. And Philadelphia. Louisville is a very dangerous place. You remember this story. It's Louisville mass shooter Connor Sturgeon. He wrote a 13-page manifesto wherein he outlined his motives for the attack. Now, this was a mass shooting that happened at the bank. In Daily Mail, they exclusively obtained details about the manifesto, and that's currently in the hands of the police. And Sturgeon stated that he wanted to carry out the massacre to show how simple it was to purchase a gun in Kentucky and highlight the mental health crisis in America. He also made it clear that he was on a suicide mission. So this guy, he was 25 years old. He's now deceased. They shot him there. He had a myriad of mental health issues, and he stated that his decision to gun down his former colleagues at this bank was based on a number of factors, including he wanted to show how easy it would be to get a gun in America and to highlight the mental health crisis in America. I mean, wow. And it goes against, this goes against the narrative, right? So they won't talk about the Louisville bank shooter, the manifesto, because he's a far left activist. And he had all kinds of weird things posted on his Reddit account. They're not going to talk about this because he's a far leftist, just like they won't talk about the Nashville shooter and how that Nashville shooter was transgender and also an activist at the same time, right? And killed 3 Christian children. They're not talking about these stories because they're being committed by leftists, by leftist people who are out on some sort of activist mission to stand up for their trans rights or to stand up for their anti-gun motives. This is an anti-gun motive. That's why he went and did this. And this is the danger of the mainstream media trying to pit us against each other, trying to brainwash people into thinking that this is a religion. Your anti-gun crap is not a religion, and it's not something that people should be subscribing to so deeply, right? Where they start to have mental health issues about it, and then they shoot up banks. I'm by any means excusing Connor Sturgeon's behavior, but he's been brainwashed and he has mental health issues. And when you put mental health issues and this conditioning that's going on in the mainstream media together, it's a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for a mass shooting. 309-451-9299. Before we took the break, I was talking a little bit about Alec Baldwin. So Alec Baldwin, I've covered this story a lot. You all know that if you follow the Morning Buzz pretty regularly, I've covered this story. I've talked about how Alec Baldwin was negligent, how he was supposed to show up for trainings and didn't take them seriously, and the trainer of this firearm on set has been came out and said that he wasn't taking the firearm safety training seriously, and through his own negligence with a firearm, he wound up killing a staffer, and her name was Helena Hutchins. And she won't get justice because the shooting charges were dropped against Alec Baldwin. Hmm. Hmm. So if you or I were to do something like Alec Baldwin just did, we would be put away. We'd probably be put away for life. Understand that we are under a regime. If you don't have the regime behind you, then you're going to get rolled. This is a time where criminals are going to be walking free. The powerful are walking free. The law abiding people who want to protect their kids, who want to just show up to work and not get shot. The Helena Hutchins, the staffer on set, right? Sorry for you. So sorry for you. But you won't get justice, and the law abiding citizens, they won't get their protection. Remember this day. Remember this story. Remember how this story made you feel. This is the same regime that would lock up Donald Trump over a check. Over a check. And they just let Alec Baldwin walk away after shooting a female staffer to death. You are living under a regime. And you must understand that we are under the theory of anarcho-tyranny. Look that up on your lunch break today, 309-451-9299. Before I take the break, I did want to bring you this story out of Bloomington. Now, we have, here at Cities 92.9, I think so far we're the only, and we were one of the first media outlets to break this, right? Before the press release, I had reached out within minutes. Then we got the press release here. Because we have so many reports rolling in about Melissa. She was very loved by the community. She was known to frequent here in Bloomington Normal. She was loved. She went by Missy. Melissa Ostrom was reported missing on Monday. And yesterday, Thursday, after an extensive search of an area, and we've received several reports of this area being Kamlara Park. Now, that has yet to be confirmed by the Bloomington police. I reached out to them. Have not gotten back to me, but we have gotten so many people telling us that that was where the location was as far as the area that was searched. Now, the McLean County Sheriff's Office, the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, the body, they found the body, and it was female, and the body of the female was located. The McLean County coroner, Kathy Yoder, she's got the body. They're going to conduct an autopsy. And there's an investigation pending here. So my prayers go up to this family. Melissa, it was a very sad ending to a story here. But she was deceased on the scene, and there's an investigation pending. We're going to bring you details as we get them. 309-451-9299. Tom Davis has your news next. Likely, he's going to tell you about this news story. There was a kitchen fire, and actually the firefighters of the Normal Police Department, they saved 2 guinea pigs in their cage. Then they brought them out of the fire to safety. All of the human occupants were safely evacuated before the arrival of the fire department. So shout out to the Normal Fire for doing a great job. They put the fire out in 10 minutes. It was a kitchen fire at a home on Truman Drive. Good morning, good morning. You guys can text in at 309-451-9299. Now, there's so many different stories that I've got here for us. Now, this is an absolutely horrific story coming out of North Carolina. It's a local crime story, but I think that it should go national. My heart goes out to this family. Monsters are real. Monsters are real. And I was reading this story, and I came across this interview with a mother, and she gave a statement, I think, to local media, possibly the police, and she talks about the heroism of her husband. So I've got that story here coming up in just a bit. Good morning. Good morning. Lots of stories today. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, there's one story coming out here. Don Lemon says that this GOP presidential candidate, Vivek Ramaswamy, doesn't get to have an opinion on the Civil War because he's not black. Ramaswamy, he shoots back and he says, no, no, no. We have to be able to talk about these issues in the open, regardless of skin color. Yes. If we stop talking about history, then, I mean, those people who died for the freedoms of the Civil War, for black people in the Civil War. I mean, if we stop talking about that, those people who died on behalf of that cause to end slavery. I mean, shoot, what are we even doing here? We should be able to talk about history, regardless of skin color. Um, Ramaswamy said this back to him. He said we should be able to talk about this regardless of skin color. And Lamont replied, "Oh, that's insulting to me as an African American. Come on." As more thoughts about CNN. CNN's just gross. They want to start a race war. I truly do believe that with this story about Andrew Lester. Um, and this is crazy where they're trying to use a grandson of Andrew Lester and bring him up there for about 5 seconds of fame, right? And they want to bring him up there and have him denounce his grandfather and say that his grandfather is a racist. Although CNN doesn't talk to the other grandson, so there's two grandsons. One that says that Andrew Lester is a racist, and another says, "Hey, my grandfather would not have done this had there not been some sort of reason, had he not been actually in fear for his life." So Ralph Yarl in this story has been dominating the news cycle all week. Um, Approached Andrew Lester's home, was pulling on the exterior door. At least that's what Andrew Lester says, and he thought that Ralph Yarl was attempting to enter his home. So Andrew Lester is an 84-year-old man. He opens the interior door, sees Ralph Yarl, and within seconds shoots him with a revolver that he grabbed from his bedside. Right after he was in bed, he heard the doorbell ring. Neighbors even said, "Hey, this is kind of an unusual stop." Or we heard a car pull in, and we said to ourselves, "Well, that's kind of unusual that he'd have a visitor this late." Their elderly neighbor, they were concerned, and they heard gunshots. Then they went to the window, saw that Ralph was knocking door to door. Ralph is alive. Um, he was shot twice, and I mean, it's a tragic incident. Ralph claims or says, right? People say that Ralph was knocking on the wrong door, and he was at the wrong house, and he was supposed to go to a different house. Um, so yeah, this is a story that's still got a lot of details missing, and I don't like talking about these stories until I have all of the facts. Um, and this CNN is just they found a clout chasing grandson to get him to call his grandfather a racist. Good morning. Hey, this is the Morning Buzz. Y'all can text in at 309-451-9299. You can also see me live in the studio. Coming up in just a little bit. I'd like to pull these stories so that way you understand, that way you know what's going on in this nation when it comes to these drag performers, LGBT, transgender activists, Trantifa folk. And this is just so common. I mean, I see stories like this all of the time, and they don't get national news. And I think that some of these actually do warrant some sort of national attention, some sort of attention to where people can start to arm themselves, or really just equip their minds to be ready for this kind of thing to happen. So this Oregon drag queen and former teacher's aide who helped groom a child into becoming a drag performer was convicted of nearly a dozen felony child sex crimes. And I talked about this a lot yesterday. And I keep pulling stories like this, and I just want to point this out, that this is so likely. If somebody is an activist, or, and I'm not saying all, but the likelihood that an LGBT activist is doing it because they want to get close to a child seems more and more like that's the case. So, used to teach at an elementary school. This Oregon teaching assistant was also a drag mom. This is a very weird situation where a drag mom is a drag performer who teaches a younger or inexperienced child person the tricks of the trade. So that's a drag mom. Kelsey Boren, 33 years old, convicted in Oregon on March 23rd of 11 felony counts of encouraging child sexual abuse in the first degree. A single charge of using a child in a display of sexual explicit conduct on was dismissed as part of this plea deal. So they're working out a plea deal with Kelsey. I hope that this person, right? Child sex crime is the worst. I hope that this person is brought to justice. But before being arrested, it's important to note that this person, Kelsey Boren, out of Oregon, was a teaching assistant for special education. It's so important because you start to see these LGBT activists, even in your school, right? Just be on the lookout, because this activism is something that is enticing to young children. And if there is a predator out there, they're going to use that to their advantage to groom a child. Okay, this activism, I mean, we even see it in priests, right? You hear that all of the time. It's stereotypical where a priest will groom a child. It's because children are enticed, or they're drawn to some sort of activism, some sort of passion. As is how cult leaders rise to some sort of power over their victims. It's because they are passionate about something, some sort of ideology, and children are drawn to that because they're so hungry for information. They think that you've got it because you scream on a megaphone or something like that, and they're inexperienced, and they're looking for somebody who's loud, somebody who has this passion. So, like I said yesterday, just be on the lookout, right? If the teacher has a pride flag in their classroom, be on the lookout for things like this, right? Try to keep your eyes and ears open so that way your child doesn't fall victim to a sex crime. 309-451-9299. Do want to talk about this. This is a tragic story coming out of North Carolina. So I do want to get to this here. Let's just play the audio. Here we go.
We are more than 24 hours into a manhunt for the suspect who allegedly opened fire on his neighbors and their kids. One child was hit in the face. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Blakely. Their father still in the hospital tonight. And take a good look of this mugshot of Robert Singletary. Gaston County authorities say he is wanted on 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce live from Gaston County tonight. Daniel, you've learned more about why authorities say Singletary is dangerous.
Yeah, a lot of what we've been able to learn just in the past few hours has been coming from these court documents. These right here are from his arrest back in December, to where he is accused of assaulting his girlfriend and then kidnapping her. He has been out on bond since being arrested, and we do know that authorities have been called out to his home more recently there on April Drive. And you couple that with what happened last night, and neighbors say that it seemed as if he had no regard for human life.
He walked through his yard and he said he was going to kill the kid. Why did you shoot my daddy and me? Said you shoot a kid's dad.
Terrible story coming out of North Carolina. Absolutely horrible. Now, this is a local crime story, and horrible things like this happen every day. Now, my heart goes out to this family, and monsters are real. The person who shot a child's father and a child is a monster. A monster. As I was reading this, I came across this interview that was done with the mother, and she gave a statement to the local media, actually, and possibly the police. This is all still very new. They finally got the guy that was audio derived when they were, it was a manhunt, and I think it almost took like 24 hours to get this guy and arrest him. But real quick update on this story coming out of North Carolina. An arrest was made in the shooting of a 6-year-old girl and her father. So yesterday at about 5 o'clock, the Gaston County Police were notified by Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office in Tampa, Florida, that the suspect of Tuesday's shooting on April Drive in North Carolina was in custody. The suspect, 24-year-old Robert Singletary, and he turned himself in, actually. So Robert did not have any identification on him. The Hillsborough Sheriff's Office processed Robert Singletary and confirmed his identity shortly before 7 p.m. And yesterday while he was in Florida, and then he was scheduled to have a hearing today, and they extradited him back to North Carolina for this hearing. So he's scheduled to have that court appearance today. But I wanted to bring this story up because this dad, and his name's William White, seems like an average guy, right, in North Carolina. He's got a 6-year-old daughter. This is one of 3 children. And she was playing basketball down the street. And he was in a position where he could hear some sort of altercation taking place when his 6-year-old daughter's basketball, rolled into this guy's driveway or into his yard. I don't know exactly the details. It seems like it rolled up into his yard or something like that. And like any good dad, he heard this altercation and he went to go check, see what was going on. And it says here that the mother was also grazed by a bullet. The daughter was grazed too. There you heard in the interview there. She was grazed by a bullet, by some bullets. And she was able to give an interview, so she's alive. The father, however, is in the hospital. Why? Because he used his own body as a shield, taking bullets in the back that were intended for his 6-year-old girl. She's alive. She gave the interview. Men, dads, constantly vilified. Constantly vilified. But you know what? To the dad that never gets credit, you know that they're going to be the first one there in these types of situations. And I know you don't want to be in these situations, dads, men, but y'all don't have choice. And you know that. You understand that. It's the male burden of performance, I guess, is what it's called. And you would take a bullet, no question. No father out there, no question in my mind, there's no father out there that would even think for a second. It's always going to be them. It's always going to be them over you. And that's just the men mentality. William won't be invited to the White House, and you won't see him on any kind of CNN specials. I'm praying for this family. 309-451-9299. Sorry, I had to bring that story to you. It's heavy lifting this morning. We are going to be lightening it up here a little bit. I do have to tell you about the gas prices. Here in the state of Illinois, because they're going up. We've got the highest gas prices east of the Rockies, east of the Rocky Mountains, out of everybody on the east side of these of these Rocky Mountains. Our gasoline prices have now shot up, averaging over $4 a gallon here in the state of Illinois. And the reason why that average is, so high, it's because Chicago prices are insane. That's next here on the Morning Buzz.
undocumented adults in FY24.
The program is designed to serve immigrants who aren't eligible for Medicaid because of their status and is funded entirely by the state. Some members of the Latino Legislative Caucus
good morning, buddy. You
to
conservatives should be focused on the child grooming that white conservatives have been doing. Instead, conservatives are now bigots and demonize and assume LGBTQ communities are the ones who are grooming children. Okay, Colson, receipts, please. Please provide receipts. We don't do the whole conservatives do this thing. Me here on my show, I just provided you another receipt. I think I give you a receipt every single day of an instance where an LGBT activist or a transgender person or somebody within the the LGBTQ plus community, Antifa, as somebody within this leftist activism community, honestly, Democrats, let's just be frank here, commits some sort of child sex crime. If you have some receipts, if you can at least provide me, so all week today's Friday, I've provided at least one a story from every place in the world, every corner of the world, where this LGBT activist, these activist types, have committed child sex crimes against children. So if you can provide me some receipts, Colson, yeah, sure, I'll share those. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. And this is incredible, folks. I've got it on tape here. Something very strange. Well, not strange. I mean, it's just kind of a weird news story that kind of makes me laugh here for your Friday. Pennsylvania pizza delivery man. He's tripping a suspect who was on the run. And he's a pizza delivery guy, and he trips the suspect who's being chased by police outside a home. So this is absolutely amazing. You can see me live in the studio, and I've got the tape here, and the tape just says it all. So here's a pizza delivery guy. It looks like and this happened in Pennsylvania. His name is Tyler Morrell, and not all heroes wear capes, folks. He's from Coco's Pizza. And he noticed something going on where this guy was being chased by the police. He's delivering a pizza here to a home and doesn't even drop off the pizza to the customer. He sees the cops chasing this guy down the sidewalk here, and he comes out and he trips the suspect. That there's like two police cars. They're trying to get, and he just trips him. The guy goes flying, and then the police manage to catch the guy and arrest him. So thank you, sir, for your assist in this arrest, said the Brookhaven Police Department. And if you're interested in a job, we're always looking for good people. See what's really funny? This is a tape that was caught on a Ring doorbell. So this was truly a heroic moment. Not all heroes wear capes, folks. And, I'm not saying this is for everybody. And I don't know if I could really do it, but if you notice something, say something. or if there's something going on and you know it's not right in your gut, then you've got to have the courage to do something and to say something. Don't just, be a bystander. And Tyler, he just said, you know what, I'm not even dropping off the pizza. I'm a I'm going to assist in this arrest. And I think that the Brookhaven Police Department, they're probably experiencing police officer shortages just like everybody else in the nation. So they're probably like half kidding here when they posted on their Facebook page saying, hey, if you're interested in a job, we're always looking for good people. They might actually be like not kidding. 309-451-9299. We're going to be back on the other side. Mm, that was pretty funny. This story about the pizza guy, a pizza delivery man in Pennsylvania, delivered more than just a pie on Sunday afternoon. Pizza. He was caught on video tripping a suspect being chased by police outside a home. So that was a cute news story, I thought, and good news story. Um, Coming up, I do want to talk about this. CNN, they are just gross people because there's this grandson of Andrew Lester. And I'm not letting this story go away, folks, because I know that we're going to have more details come out about this Andrew Lester case. And I think that it's going to wind up being what we're not being told. Um, and I'm waiting for the facts on this case, but CNN isn't. They've gone out and they have completely um, gone off the rails trying to cook up some sort of race war. That's what's going on here. This story, 84-year-old guy, right? Here's the doorbell ring late at night. He wasn't expecting anybody. Worried, he grabs his gun, goes downstairs, opens up the door, sees that there is a 6-foot man. I don't believe race had anything to do with it. That's my belief, but we don't know yet. Sees a 6-foot man. And this is what Andrew Lester had told the police. And I have the probable cause statement. And the probable cause statement, which was drafted up by police, they were a witness to a conversation with Andrew Lester, and they're giving their account of what Andrew Lester had told them. So the police say that Lester told them that he was scared. He was scared for his life, and he thought that he was coming in. That's what he told police. So within seconds of opening up that door, seeing him tug on the handle, and we have evidence now that there are fingerprints on that handle, the exterior door, the storm door. He grabs his revolver, 32 Smith & Wesson, and he shoots him twice. Ralph Yarl lives. He's alive. Tragic incident. Ralph Yarl was at the wrong house. He was supposed to go to a different house, I believe. And I think we're going to get more of the circumstances surrounding that here coming up when they go to court and when this is all fleshed out. But what CNN is doing here is that they found a grandson of Andrew Lester's to get up there. He's a clout chaser. He's really like a loser. Looks like he smokes pot all day. And he gets up there on CNN and he calls his grandfather a racist. And when asked why, and this is important, folks, because you can call somebody a racist. Yeah, you can do that if you have the receipts. If you have the receipts and if you have a legitimate reason why you are calling that person a racist. And a legitimate reason to me to call somebody racist just because they're white doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. You can't call somebody racist just because they're white. And he's on tape here on CNN telling Don Lemon, the little communist, that his grandfather is racist because he's white. So I got the story here coming up in just a little bit. They won't talk about the Sweet 16 birthday mass shooting because all of the suspects there, 6 people, it appears to be involved in that mass shooting in Alabama, all black. The victims were also black. Doesn't fit the narrative, but they won't talk about it. even though four young people were slain, ranging from the ages of 17 to 23. And this really shocked this little small East Alabama city. It's called Dadeville. And 32 people were injured, four of them critically. So this is probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, mass shooting of our year here in 2023. It's a lot of people were shot, 32 people, and nobody's talking about it because it doesn't fit the narrative. So I'm going to be talking about those two stories here coming up in just a little bit. Oh man, this is not. I don't know. I'm just going to say it, folks. Don't take substance advice from somebody who's been hospitalized for clinical depression. Just don't do it. Senator John Fetterman, there's a photo he tweeted out of himself 420 yesterday, and on the banner itself it says it's 420 somewhere, so he's holding up like a banner, and you can see this here in the studio. I'm here and I'm looking at this tweet. This is John Fetterman, and he's holding up like a poster banner type thing, and on it it reads it's 420 somewhere. And I'm just gonna say it, right? Don't take substance advice from somebody who was hospitalized for clinical depression. Okay, moving on. Breaking news. Louisville bank shooter Connor Sturgeon wrote a 13-page manifesto outlining 3 motives for the attack: to prove how easy it was to buy a gun, to highlight America's mental health crisis, and to kill himself. Sturgeon was a homicidal left-wing gun activist. And that should not surprise you, folks. 309-451-9299. I got a lot of stories to get to today. I do want to get to this story. CNN, the narrative, if it doesn't fit the race narrative, then they won't talk about it. So I've got a story here about this Alabama law enforcement agency. Last night, they announced the arrest of this 15-year-old juvenile from Tuskegee, I think I'm saying that right, Alabama, the 6th person charged in this case. What case am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the Sweet 16 birthday mass shooting. Have you heard about it? Because I haven't seen a lick of it on CNN. I haven't seen a lick of it on any really mainstream news. This was a birthday party at a dance studio just off the town square, and it was in full swing when the gunfire just erupted the birthday party. and investigators have not discussed any kind of motive or for what they believe led to this mass shooting. But at the end of the day, 4 young people were tragically shot. Their ages ranged from 17 to 23. This has completely shaken the small city of Dadeville in Alabama. 4 people were slain. 32 people were injured, 4 of them critically. So out of the 32 people, 4 of them are critically injured. They want a race war. And they won't talk about this story, the Sweet 16 birthday mass shooting. Probably one of the largest mass shootings in this year. 32 people were injured and 4 people were killed. I mean, this is huge. This is a massive shooting. And they won't talk about it. Why? Because the suspects and the victims were all black and the guns were obtained illegally, and it doesn't fit their narrative. That's why the mainstream news won't be talking about it. What are they talking about, though? What story does fit the narrative? It's this Ralph Yarl story and Andrew Lester story, where this 84-year-old man, he's in bed, laying down. At least this is according to the probable cause statement. Now, a probable cause statement is a statement that police provide after having a conversation with the suspect. After having a conversation here with Andrew Lester, they created a statement and gave it to the prosecutor. Now, Andrew Lester, 84-year-old man, he's white, and he gets up late one night because he hears a doorbell ring. His neighbors of this elderly man have come out and told the police that they heard a car pull in to the elderly neighbor's house, Andrew Lester's house, and they thought it was strange because it was a late night visitor that he typically doesn't get. And then they heard gunshots. Then they came to the door, and then they saw that Ralph Yarl was going door to door to try to get help for 2 gunshots because Ralph Yarl was shot by Andrew Lester, who came down, opened up the interior door through the storm door, saw a 6-foot man tugging on, and we do know this because we have evidence that Ralph Yarl's fingerprints were on the storm door handle. So his hand was on that handle, and there were prints on the handle. There wasn't even prints of Andrew Lester. His fingerprints weren't on there. So Ralph Yarl did, in fact, pull or have his hand on that handle. That's what we know. And Ralph Yarl, very big man, young. He says that he was at the wrong house, totally at the wrong house, wasn't supposed to be there. And Andrew Lester opens up the door, shoots twice within seconds of opening up the door, and told the police that he feared for his life, feared that the guy was trying to break into his home. Here's what CNN is doing.
Here, the legal question is not, was Andrew Yarl actually attempting to unlawfully enter the home? That's not the right question. And if that's the question you're asking, you'll never get the right answer, legal answer. The correct legal question is, could Andrew Lester have reasonably perceived, under the circumstances, the totality of the circumstances, that Ralph Yarl was attempting to unlawfully enter his home? If the answer to that is yes, the shooting is lawful under Missouri law, because deadly force can be used to stop someone who's attempting to unlawfully enter a dwelling. Now, a caveat, because we have a factual dispute here. And the factual dispute is that Ralph Yarl, of course, was shot twice. Nobody contests that the first time he was shot, he was standing up, at least facing Andrew Lester's doorway. Lester says he was trying to open up the storm door of his home, which is the unlawful entry. And the only evidence against that is Ralph Yarl's own self-serving statement, right? They weren't able to exclude Ralph Yarl's fingerprints. There were fingerprints on the handle of the storm door that couldn't be matched to anybody, even Lester. They wouldn't match to Lester, the homeowner. So we can't exclude Ralph Yarl.
What was your reaction when you heard that your grandfather shot Ralph Yarl for ringing his doorbell?
I was disgusted. I thought it was terrible. Myself and my family stand with Ralph Yarl and seeking justice. This is a horrible tragedy. It never should have happened.
Folks are going to want to know, why are you speaking out and apparently against your grandfather?
It's the right thing to do. This country happens over and over again where people get away with killing unarmed, innocent black people. And I would have had the same energy for any other case like I've had over and over again in this country, like I said. So it's the right thing to do. People need to speak out and not make any excuses for this kind of behavior and this violence.
Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
I believe he holds racist tendencies and beliefs.
Why do you say that?
He's just a stock American Christian male. It's the older, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things they say, and it doesn't make sense, but they're just scared.
Wow. So there you have it, folks. CNN, they're out there. They find this clout-chasing grandson of Andrew Lester's, and they get him up there, and they tell him, are you going to denounce? Are you going to denounce Andrew Lester? Are you going to say he's racist? Guys, are you serious right now? This guy is a clout chaser who wanted 5 seconds of fame. And guess what CNN actually won't tell you? And I'll tell you here on the Morning Buzz, there's another grandson who says that his grandfather wouldn't have shot Ralph had he not felt Ralph was going to break in. And he would not have done this. Notice how the clout-chasing grandson didn't even bring up the facts of the case. He didn't bring up the facts. He just went straight to the identities. And then when he was asked, hey, why is your grandfather racist? He says, oh, well, he's like a white man. And yeah, that's why he's racist. And it's like, wait a second. You just claimed that your grandfather was racist. And the only reason that you have for calling him that is the color of his skin. So apparently, if you're just white, you're racist, bottom line. Communist Don Lemon. Little communist Don. Trying to get up there to get him to denounce his grandfather and to get him to confess racism. Children denouncing their parents. Huh? Where have I seen that before? Huh? What's crazy here is that there is another grandson, and nobody's going to talk about it except me, talking about it right now. And the grandson talks about his grandfather's point of view. And folks, in the state of Missouri, the law specifically points out that if somebody is trying to unlawfully enter your home, it can be met with this sort of reaction, and this reaction is legal, given the massive size, given the time of night. What was Lester supposed to do? Okay, I understand Ralph was there and he wasn't supposed to be, and he was at the wrong house. And it's tragic. It's a sad incident. However, folks, what was he supposed to do? He's an 84-year-old man. And what if, in this, he didn't know. He didn't know who this guy was. They have no history. They have no background together. He had no idea who this man was. What was he supposed to do? Wait and see if the guy would come in? Wait and see if Ralph was a good guy or a bad guy? I don't know. If I was in that situation, I don't know what I would do. But I can tell you something right now. I would do everything in my power to make sure that he didn't come inside my home, because once inside, there's no way that I'm going to be able to defend myself. I'm just saying that as a young woman, there's no way that I would be able to defend myself against somebody of that size. And the moment that somebody enters your home, they have a different advantage. And, it's sad, but what was he supposed to do? I'm honestly curious. I'm honestly curious. If you guys could text in, comment, leftists out there who, think that Ralph, Joe Biden, who's inviting Ralph to the White House to speak with them. He didn't invite the Nashville victims. He's not inviting William White, I think is his name out of North Carolina, who stood in front of his 6-year-old daughter and took bullets in the back after a man shot him. Or she went to go shoot his 6-year-old daughter for having a ball roll into his yard. Right, that he won't be invited to the White House, but Ralph is. And look, I understand he's a victim, and that's sad. The fingerprints were on the exterior door handle. And Lester claims that he was pulling on the door. And the question becomes, was Ralph yelling? We don't know. We need more facts. And it's so sad to see CNN enabling someone to go on air to denounce their own grandfather to start a race war. 309-451-9299. Told you I'd get to this story. It's causing some controversy here on YouTube and on Facebook Live. There's a lot of people who are upset that I pull stories like these, but I pull one every single day just so that way you are made aware that the likelihood that these LGBT activists, these drag queens, is very high for them to commit some sort of sex crime. There are people who take advantage of this sort of activism, of this sexual orientation, religion, identity thing. They take advantage of it, these child sex predators, because activism entices children. It's a grooming tactic. The likelihood of an activist, an LGBT activist committing a sex crime, I'm telling you, I mean, I see stories like this all of the time. I don't have the numbers, but I'm telling you, this is just another story. Former Oregon elementary teaching assistant and drag mom, charged now and has been convicted of 11 felonies over the distribution of child sex abuse content and sentenced to less than a year in a local jail. That's next. Hey, good morning. How are we this morning? It's a Friday. Yeah, so I'm gonna be pulling up some comments here. Comment, make sure. This is wild. Guys, are you serious right now? Clout chasing grandson. Okay. Now, there's one story I'm going to share with you that I don't think I'm going to get to. This is really hilarious. Hang on. I'll show you guys. Vaseline coming out now with this bottle. Here we go. That's what that says. Equitable skincare for all. Original healing jelly. White petroleum skin protectant. So go woke, go broke. I'm just saying I would never. I'm not going to buy this, right? If we had equitable Vaseline 80 years ago, test scores would be equal. Come on. This is ridiculous. BuzzFeed, they're shut down per CNN. Looking for some more headlines here. Also, why are the blue check marks like totally melting down? This is hilarious. Elon Musk. He said this years ago, or pretty much a year ago when he took over Twitter. He had previously announced that he was going to remove the Twitter legacy blue check marks, unless people signed up for Twitter Blue or registered as a verified organization or affiliate. Now, he left it for 420, and I think that's kind of funny. He put it on Weed Day. But the tweet has now received 69 million views. This tweet where he says, tomorrow, 420, we're removing legacy verified check marks to remain verified on Twitter. Individuals can sign up for Twitter Blue. Now, there's different things that come with Twitter Blue. You get different access. You have different abilities. I think that you have more like video privileges and things like that. You get the blue check mark. You can create longer tweets. You have the ability to edit your tweet. So you get more things for being blue check mark. It's $84 a year. And these people are melting down because their blue check marks were removed. Me personally, I have a few friends who have blue check marks by their names. And Hillary Clinton, oh my gosh, this is so funny. her blue check mark was taken down. But I have friends who have like completely gone off the rails. There's one there where they're like, hang on. I'm not going to give this person's name up because I actually really like her, and it's so sad that she's like such an idiot. But, quote, it feels like yesterday I was still verified on Twitter. Thanks, Elon Musk, for being a constant source of my misery. Y'all, you're in misery because you don't have a blue check by your name? These people are insane. Insane. Larry Elder, did you guys hear about this? Announcing his presidential bid. There's another Republican running in 2024 on Thursday. Larry Elder, a conservative commentator who we used to carry here. He doesn't have a radio show anymore, but was a talk show host. He threw his hat into the ring. Yeah, the libs really be breaking down right now because there's no blue check mark by their name. And I'm not going to give this person's name out on air, but I know a few people who add the blue check marks, right? And a lot of people in the journalism industry, they absolutely live for that blue check mark. It's everything to them. Quote, it feels like yesterday I was still verified on Twitter. Sigh. Thanks, Elon Musk, for being the constant source of my misery. Oh, God. Really? Come on, guys. I mean, he announced this as soon as he took over on Twitter. And he said that I'm taking away the verification and you have to sign up for Twitter Blue if you want the blue check mark by your name. And you get all kinds of different things for this $84 a year. You get to post longer tweets. I think you get to post videos. You also get to edit your tweets. There's all kinds of different perks to being a part of Twitter Blue. So now it makes sense. Now the blue check mark actually is some sort of, a different type of account where you can do different things. Twitter Blue used to be, or like this blue check mark used to just be like a way to tout, like, oh, look, I have a media backing. I have media credentials or whatever. I don't understand it. I don't understand the meltdown either. People are melting down over this. It's just like, bruh, he announced this like when he started, when he took over Twitter and when he became the purchase, when he purchased Twitter. So amazing. Larry Elder announcing a run for president.
Or a disaster. So for all those reasons, I was called the blackface of white supremacy and a white supremacist in terms of my views. My announcement, Tucker, is I'm announcing that I'm running for the presidency of the United States on your program. And thank you so much for giving me this honor and this platform.
Of course.
My website is elderforpresident.com, elderforpresident.com. And Tucker, the reason I'm doing this is because, my father was a World War II vet. He served on the island of Guam. He was a Marine.
And that is Larry Elder, and he's making his announcement that he's running for president. And we used to carry Larry Elder, and oh gosh, he ran in California, and oh my goodness, what this guy faced, and he's still in politics. I can't believe it. I mean, it takes somebody with a backbone to do what he's doing right now. So way to go, Larry. Way to go. I'm excited. I'm excited for the Republican primary. I think that it's good to have some competition. Vivek Ramaswamy, really cool candidate. Donald Trump, obviously my candidate. But I wanted to shift gears here, talk about McDonald's, because they're looking to boost their sales by improving their classic menu items, such as the Big Mac and the double cheeseburger with softer buns, gooier cheese, and more onions and sauce. So, this is interesting. They're trying to change. I mean, I don't think you could do anything to your burger, McDonald's, to get me to eat one again. I've given up McDonald's. I really have given up fast food. But I don't think that they could do much to get me to eat it. I just won't do it. The Big Mac is getting saucier, so that's one thing that they're trying to do. They're also playing with their grill settings to try to make the cheese gooier, and then they're going to actually cook the burgers with the onions already in them. So it'll be like a smash burger almost. So what does McDonald's have to do to get you to eat a burger? Do you already eat McDonald's burgers? I just don't. I'm not a big fan. I gave them up after high school, I think, when I became an adult, and like when my metabolism started to slow down, and one of those cheeseburgers just going straight to the thighs, folks. There's no way I am putting a McDonald's cheeseburger in my mouth ever again. I just won't do it. No matter how soft you make your buns, and no matter how gooey your cheese is, I will not put that in my mouth. 309-451-9299. Up next, we're going to be talking with Scott Robbins for Scott's Takes. Scott Robbins, it's Scott's Takes here on the Morning Buzz. And I'm Kat Peterson.
Hey.
I don't understand it, Scott.
Can I just wait a minute? Now wait a minute before we start, okay?
Okay.
Happy birthday, Kat Peterson. I did not know it was your birthday yesterday, and I felt terrible because I didn't know. And I saw your mom's really nice post about you. You got a twin brother, and I mean, you've told me that, and that's no secret, right? We're not keeping that a secret. She's got a twin, and you guys both celebrated a birthday yesterday, and I thought your mom's post was very nice. And I went, oh, it's Kat's birthday.
Yep,
So then I had to find one of the pictures of us together, which I found, and put it on my Facebook page. And then other people started putting stuff on my Facebook page. People love you. So congratulations on another year. Waltzing around the world. Yes. And
I'm so glad that my mom.
How old are you? 24?
Yes.
Oh, my God. All right.
The
okay.
Big 2-4.
You know, Kat, back in the day, I got my first morning show when I was 24.
Really? Huh.
Yep, but I was playing music, but yeah. So I got and you got yours at 23. This kid, I'm telling you, she's on the rise.
She's
or 20.
On the rise, yeah.
All right. So anyway, that's great. I'm glad you had a good time,
Thanks,
and again, happy birthday to you and about 250 other people on my Facebook page wished you happy birthday. So. Anyway, very nice, and let's see. We can move on now.
I love you, Scott Robbins.
I love you, Kat. Where do we go first here? Where do we decide we were going to go? What do you got teed up and ready to go?
I'm thinking Karen Jean-Pierre, and
let's go. Let's go there.
Let's go there.
These people like her who get paid to lie every single day. They want you to believe. Now, let's just say, here's what happened. What happened is Ron DeSantis in Florida and the Florida Board of Education put together a piece of legislation that said, hey, schools, you can't teach things about, well, I don't even remember how it was framed, but it's very similar to the one that he had with K through 3. That bill that was out there with Ron DeSantis.
The whole "Don't Say Gay" bill. It's not
a
called
"Don't
that.
Say Gay." It's never been called that, and there's nothing in the legislation that says that. Nothing. Period. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't stop these morons from going out there. And Jean-Claude Pierre Van Damme, whatever her name is, decided yesterday would be a good time to call out the dystopian world that these Floridians live in. Anyway, listen to this nonsense.
Let me pull it up here.
All right, we got it. All right.
I also want to say a word about the decision yesterday made by the Florida Board of Education to expand the state's dystopian Don't Say Gay law.
Oh, God.
As this measure takes effect, it will prohibit all students up to seniors in high school from learning about or discussing LGBTQI+ people in the classrooms.
Nope.
Teachers in Florida have already faced the devastating consequences of the existing law. Under threat of having their licenses revoked.
Can you stop right there? Can you stop right there? What devastating consequences are you talking about? Other than teachers that refused to go by the law and were removed. Other than that, what are you talking about? Dystopian? I mean, all of these claims are disprovable lies. They all are. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is how this is, they're unable to defend this culture. They can't defend it on anything close to the merits. So they have to go down this road, this spooky road that she's on. She's been on it forever.
They're cooking it up. I mean, the bill just says, hey, let's give parents the right to know whether or not you're going to be teaching them sex, just in general. Let's give them the right to know what you're teaching them. That's all the bill says. That's it. It should be, like, totally nonpartisan.
Well, yeah. It's crawe I mean, way back in my day, Kat, when we walked 2 miles to school every day back and forth, we did math, we did science, we did social studies. All that old-fashioned racist stuff. That's what I did when I was in school.
See.
Yeah, you got it right.
Math is racist. I mean, that 2 + 2 = 4 nonsense. I mean, what the heck is that? Objective truth,
but I don't
reality?
remember. Anybody over the age of 40, let's just say, for instance, I'll throw that out there just as a marker. I don't recall anybody over the age of 40, if you can remember, discussing sexuality, gender, or any of this nonsense that they want to teach in Florida. They wanted it and were teaching in Florida and elsewhere. I don't remember that.
I don't remember it either.
So this is
just
just what she's saying is ridiculous. But she goes on. Here we go.
Gay teachers have been forced to take down pictures of their spouses from their desks.
Okay, stop right there. Stop right there. Now I'm going to ask you a question, and maybe this is different than when I was in school, but you certainly were in school not that many years ago, Kat. I don't recall, and maybe it's true, I don't recall a teacher ever having a picture of their spouse at their desk.
Yeah.
Maybe some do. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just, why is this a sticking point? What are you what are you talking about? Give me receipts. Give me examples of that.
Yep.
Anyway, we go
Where
on.
are the receipts? They just claim these
where are
things.
they?
There's no.
They have to take down pictures of their spouses.
That's a lie.
Well, I don't know if that's, again, I don't know any teachers who did that. Maybe some do now. I don't know. But anyway, here we go. Move on.
Censor their classroom materials. Censoring our classes is not how public education is supposed to work.
Okay, stop. Public education is not for you teaching that garbage that you were teaching. That if a student says, "Hey, teacher, what is a gender neutral, gender fluid person? What does that mean?" The teacher simply looks at the student and says, "I don't know. You need to go home and talk to your parents about that." We move on.
Yep.
We move on. That's it.
You know what else isn't supposed to be in public education, Scott? Did you see that story about the licking? I did the story a little while.
Licking game?
The licking game?
Yeah, that was fun.
What do you mean? For Karen Jean-Pierre, what do you mean public education isn't for, that stuff, for censorship? Well, what is it to you? Because is it the licking game? Is it the pornography on the shelves in the school libraries that you can go check out? Or the pornography that teachers give to students?
And somebody pointed this out. This was a News Nation reporter said, there's a reasonable debate to be had about what should and shouldn't be promoted in public schools. I agree with that. Mm-hmm. But it feels like a lot of these debates are based on things that simply don't exist. Mm-hmm. That's true. They don't exist. Mm-hmm. Knock it off with that nonsense. And you, since this law was introduced, by the way, they say don't say gay, claiming the law censors the discussion of being gay in schools. That's a total mischaracterization of what happened. But I would argue that's, and DeSantis said this, that it would never be appropriate telling a school kid they were born in the wrong body. That's not your job. Mm-hmm. That's not your job. All right, I go off on this because it comes up all the time.
It's pushing almost a religion, almost. So
it is.
I saw this post and it was so funny. What if a school teacher were to be baptizing kids in the sink? What if they were to be, reading the Bible to kids in the classroom? Mm-hmm. What's the difference there? Because you're pushing your sexual orientation and your LGBT religion onto the child, and there is a conversation to be had what can and can't be pushed in public school.
Well, after baptism and the sacrament, you're not allowed to tell your parents.
Yeah. Hey,
okay,
I'm going to baptize you right now, but you can't tell your parents.
Can't tell mom and dad. Don't tell mom and dad. What would the pushback? They'd be out of their minds. Their heads would explode.
Yeah, there's teachers that give the kids backpacks full of clothes to wear, right? If they're like,
yes.
Oh, I'm a boy, the teachers will bring clothes to the classroom and have the kid change into clothes that. And
they will change their names to the appropriate sex they feel they are. Mm-hmm. They do. I do that all the time, and the pronoun nonsense. So anyway, here we go. So one other thing, since I got the soapbox here. Not one single Democrat voted to protect women's sports from men. Oh. They had a chance. Not one Democrat said, hey, you know what? It's not right or fair to have your daughter, your granddaughter, your niece, your friends, kids, daughters, to compete against boys in school. It's not fair. And Leah Thomas was totally fine. It's fine she broke all those records. It's fine that she was the 86th ranked swimmer until she decided to become a woman. It's okay. We're good with it. As a matter of fact, she was Athlete of the Year. So instead of stepping up and protecting the rights of women and girls in sports, they decided it was much more important to say it doesn't matter. Good God, man. Consider all of this when you vote. I mean, seriously, consider it all. Mm-hmm. consider these people didn't see fit to protect your daughter from participating in sports, what does that say? Is there some, intentional women hating virus that's going around out there? I mean, I don't know what's going on here. Nobody went, you know what? I know I'm a Democrat and I know I'm sold and bought and sold and I'm controlled by the wokeness, but I got to do what's right here. I got to be able to sleep at night. So this is what I'm going to do.
Nope, because it's groupthink. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the morality. They all just do they do it all. I mean, even to everything. They just are so cohesive. They stick together like glue. Doesn't it seem weird. It's cult-like.
Doesn't it seem like there are? I mean, I realize it's a divided country. I realize it's a divided populace right now. I understand that. I get it. However, that being said, there's so many things I think we can all agree on.
Yeah.
Well, we can all agree on. We're not saying, we're going to ban transgender surgeries. Well, I think we should for children, but that's beside the point. What you decide to do as an adult is, I don't care. I really don't care. It's not going to bother me if you're not going to bother anybody else. That's all. When we talk about these kids, when we talk about the rise, the absolutely provable rise in the number of these surgeries that are being done across the country, and again, when I make this argument, I always hear would you rather have the kids killing themselves? Again, bring the receipts. Bring them. Because that's the only pushback you get from this. But even if you went as far as to say, okay, all right, we're going to do this, to have them participate against your daughter and your granddaughter and your niece or whatever in sports, does anybody think a big dude on the soccer field in high school knocking girls around is a good idea? Anybody? Do you think that's a good idea?
No. I played soccer,
yes.
I remember one time she was just a bigger girl, right?
Right.
She was just much bigger than I was, and I got knocked down, and oh my gosh, I couldn't move for like about a week, and I was all bloodied up, and it was just it was a mess. Right? I couldn't imagine a man of the size of like my brother, 6'3", something like that, 200 pounds, knocking me over. I would be unconscious. I would. Well, yeah, and probably dead if he was allowed to play in the field with me.
That's why sports are separated by sex.
Yep.
Everybody can compete against equals. It's really remarkable to me we're even having this conversation. And that's like the whole teaching all that garbage in schools. Well, of course we don't think that's appropriate. Parents have a say-so and a right to so many things that y'all have been stripped away from you. Anyway, I rant over, but I just think in these divisive times, right, that when there's very little we can agree on, period, that this is the type of nonsense. Not one Democrat voted in favor of this. Not one. Now it'll go to the Senate and die there. It'll die there. And, Biden will veto it anyway. So it's just, a lot of it's a show trial type thing. It's just an example. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Kat, again, happy birthday to you yesterday.
Thank you, Scott Robbins. I appreciate it.
And I'll get you a cheeseburger at Schooners sometime or something. We'll do that.
Schooners,
okay.
Not McDonald's. I don't think you could ever get me to eat at McDonald's.
Well, that's a tough one, isn't it? Huh? That's a tough one. If you got kids, sometimes you got to do that. But
oh yeah.
Now they want to ban it for children. Okay, all right. Talk to you later. See you.
See you later, Scott
Bye.
Robbins. On the other side, guys, it's a Friday. I've got an interesting news story for you. They want to change how they teach math. Most Americans are unhappy with the way math is taught in the classroom. Let's talk about it here on the other side. This is The Morning Buzz. Okay, guys. Good morning. Hey, thanks so much for tuning in. We've got a story here about North Carolina, and I wanted to bring this story to you guys about a dad. His name is William White, and William White, he's not going to be invited to the White House, folks. And it's sad. He was in North Carolina. His 6-year-old girl was playing basketball, and she was playing basketball down the street. And he was in a position where he could hear an altercation taking place after his 6-year-old daughter rolled a ball into this guy's backyard, or into the yard or driveway or whatever. And this basketball rolled into the yard. And like any good dad, he heard the altercation taking place and he went to go check up and see what was going on. And the mother was out there as well, and she was grazed by a bullet, and the daughter was grazed too. Now, the father, he's in the hospital. Why? Because he used his own body as a shield, and he took bullets in the back that were intended for his 6-year-old daughter. This isn't getting national news. The suspect that they've got right now who was arrested, black, that's probably why, is because it doesn't fit the narrative. And that's why this isn't getting national news. And this is a local crime story. Things like this happen everywhere all of the time, right? And sometimes it just doesn't warrant national attention. I think that this one does. But there's a statement out there where she's talking to local media, the wife of this man, and she talks about the heroism of her husband, and he's in the hospital. I'm praying for him, and he took bullets. And men, dads, you guys are constantly vilified, constantly. And I never really, they never really get credit, right? And there's this thing, it's called the male burden of performance. And there's not a lot of people out there who give them credit, who give men credit, and they're constantly vilified. And I don't think that there's any father out there, any rational father, any real father who wouldn't do this. There's just this no thought, not even for a second. It's always going to be for your kid. It's always going to be them. You're always going to choose them over you. William, he's not going to be invited to the White House. There's not going to be CNN specials run on him, but he is a hero, and I don't think we should dismiss that. I'm going to be back here in just a little bit. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. Thanks so much for being here. You can text in at 309-451-9299. Elon Musk. Gosh, I love this guy. He's so funny. Guys, this has been out for so long. He previously announced that he was going to remove the Twitter legacy blue checks unless people signed up for something called Twitter Blue or registered as a verified organization or affiliated account. So he did this 420. He said tomorrow, 420, we are removing the legacy verified check marks to remain verified on Twitter. Individuals can sign up for Twitter Blue. And you have to pay, $84 a year. And these people, these blue check mark people, the people on the left, have relied on that blue check mark to feel special, elite, and above the common people. And they are flipping out about it right now. And I think it's so funny because you see all of these this over the top reaction from journalists, right? Who think, for example, this one woman, her name's Julie. This is what she says. She goes, Elon thinks this is a funny joke. As a former verified account who lost their blue check mark, I know how dangerous this really is. People are going to die. What? Are you serious right now? And I know people personally who have gone on. I went to Illinois State University, knew a couple of friends who went on to be journalists locally for different TV stations. And folks, I don't do the whole newsy journalism voice. I just don't do it, right? Now, I read things a little bit differently than what I say regularly, but it's a tell that these people think they're above you when they train, they'll do this in school too. They'll try to train you to do delivery journalism. So they get out there and they're like, this just in, they are just so incestual and they think that they're above you. And that's why they need that blue check mark, is because it affirms them. It affirms them and it makes them feel special. Well, guess what? You're not all that special, okay? On the other side, this is the Morning Buzz. I just think it's so funny to see this meltdown. People are going to die. What? It's a check mark. Get over it. I don't know. Your thoughts on the blue check mark? That stuff really peeves me off for some odd reason. I just start to lose my marbles because it's like, really? Really? People are going to die? I don't think so. I don't think so. I got to take a quick call. Hold on. gosh, guys, I don't know. I don't understand 420. So yes, thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. Um, yeah, yesterday was my birthday. It is on 420. I hate it as much as I try not to tell people about my birthday because it lands on 420, and I'm just like, it kind of sucks that I share a birthday with that. But no, I am very happy that my mom, um, it gave birth to me. She's a great woman. My parents are great people, and I have a twin brother. So happy birthday to my twin brother, John. Now, this came in, this story. More than 100 union workers at a cannabis dispensaries in Chicago walked off the job on Wednesday, the eve of 420 Day, the unofficial holiday for these marijuana users. You know, if you're a business owner, I just want to point this out. And if you're having a hard time getting people to work for you or finding good help, the reason why is because of marijuana. I'm just saying. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. You can text in at 309-451-9299. You can also be a part of the show by tuning in via our YouTube Live or our Facebook Live. We are there streaming live. You can see me in studio. You can even see me give you details about the articles that I'm pulling for today's show. More than 100 union workers at cannabis dispensaries in Chicago walked off the job on the eve of 420, and I do appreciate getting lots of text messages. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Yes, my birthday is on 420. Ugh. But no, straight up, these people walked off the job on the eve of marijuana day, 420, and I'm just thinking to myself, gosh, you know, if you're a business owner, text in if you're a business owner and if you're having a hard time finding work or keeping people on the job, because I promise you the reason why is because this generation is so far up pot. It's not even funny. They love pot, and they won't get off their butts and stop. They won't stop smoking it, and they won't get a job. Bottom line, if you're a business owner and you're having a hard time filling positions or keeping those people in their positions, I promise you it's most likely because pot. There, I said it. I don't care. I don't care what you think about it either. 309-451-9299. I do want to shift gears here, and I want to talk about a few of these news stories. You're listening to the Morning Buzz. One news story I've got here, it's the Fauci files. Those have been released now. Now, Elon Musk said he was going to release these Fauci files on Twitter, and he did. So I'm going to dig through these Fauci files and point out a straight up lie, because Anthony Fauci, Tony, turns out he straight up lied in 2022 in November when he went as far as to say that he didn't know what Twitter was. He doesn't understand what Twitter is. He had no part in it. That's a complete flat out lie. And now we have proof that that's untrue, because it turns out Tony Fauci was taking over the WHO COVID response Twitter account. And that runs contrary to Fauci's very public statements in sworn deposition that was given on November 23rd of 2022. That first takeover was in March of 2021. The second takeover of this WHO COVID response account was in April of that year. Fauci was behind the information and the propaganda surrounding COVID-19, and now I've got the receipts here. Dropped charges against Alec Baldwin during the filming of Rust. Next, I'm going to talk about the state of safety, family, and strong fathers after the shooting in North Carolina, where a father shielded his 6-year-old daughter from a rain of bullets after this guy just starts shooting because this little girl's basketball rolls into his driveway, his yard or something. I don't know. I don't know the motive or anything behind it, but that's what happened. The basketball rolls in. There was an altercation. Then all of a sudden, this guy is shooting at a 6-year-old girl. Terrifying. Just terrible story. And then this father jumps in front, gets a bunch of bullets in the back to act as a shield for his 6-year-old daughter. I mean, just strong families, strong fathers. I want to talk about the state of our safety and our families here coming up in just a little bit. You're listening to the Morning Buzz. I like that little sounder. I got to start playing that here. And it comes with like a cute little graphic on YouTube and on Facebook. So you guys are going to have to check that out. Shout out to Kev Ferris, who you can hear here on Cities 92.9 Sundays from 3 to 5, Speechless. He made that for me, and I like it. I like it a lot. Okay, let's get into it. The Fauci files are out. I'm going to play this clip here. This is his reaction here to the Fauci files being out, Tony himself.
You know, no less than Elon Musk has said he has released the so-called Fauci files and talking about how the government and Twitter, for example, work closely to share messages on how you particularly were dealing or telling the public about the virus. He went on to say, my pronouns are hashtag Fauci. And I'm just wondering what you made of the world's richest man, or second richest now, going after you.
I have no idea what he's talking about, Neil. I wish I did. I mean, I'm clueless about what he's referring to. He's talking about the Fauci files was supposed to come out last week. We now, at the end of this week, I just don't understand what he's doing. And I don't even think I should be addressing it.
I don't even think I should be addressing it. Why? Because you lied. Fauci lied. People died. So the Fauci files are out. And he's saying, I have no idea what he's talking about. I have no idea what Twitter even is. Come on. We know that's a complete lie. Did anybody really believe that lie, Fauci? Fauci notably said that he had no idea what Musk was talking about. He further said that he didn't know how to use Twitter. This turns out to be untrue because Fauci, in public statements and in a sworn deposition that happened on November 23rd of 2022, stated that he was not involved with Twitter, but turns out Fauci was actually running the WHO Twitter. So from the Post-Millennial, we've got this. Others in the COVID House team working for the Biden administration, from Dr. Rochelle Walensky to Andy Slavitt, undertook similar engagements on Twitter to answer 32 questions about COVID and the COVID response, generating 4 million impressions. These people were behind the propaganda because Tony Fauci took over an account called the WHO COVID response. Now, that runs contrary to what he said publicly and what he said in sworn deposition on November 23rd, 2022. Because his takeover of that account, he was running the Twitter, folks, in 2021, in March and in April of that year. So Fauci's presence at Twitter went way far beyond just, being the face behind these pages. Right? He wasn't just running these accounts. There was a straight up Fauci fan club. And these big tech losers, the employees there, had an internal Slack channel dedicated to Fauci, and it was called the Fauci Fan Club. So in this fan club, they were taking everything that Tony Fauci said, his perspectives, his opinions, and they didn't take it as guidance, but they took it and they ran with it without fact-checking, without actually putting out helpful information. So Fauci's opinions on ivermectin, right? Oh, that's just horse goo. That's just horse goo, right? They took what he said as they praised him. They praised him, and they said that he was the leading voice about COVID-19 and the response in the United States. So get this, it gets even worse because turns out that an attorney who worked for Twitter and left amid the Musk takeover praised Fauci as the leading trusted voice about the COVID-19 response in the United States and, quote, was one of the attorneys he interfaced with on disinformation at Twitter. So he was constantly working with this attorney to pull down disinformation on Twitter. Disinformation being anything that said that the vaccines didn't stop the transmission of COVID, anything that was actually factual, right? Surrounding the COVID-19 pandemic. Any kind of study that suggested that masks weren't super helpful in stopping the spread. Yeah, all of that taken down. And they worked with this attorney over at Twitter to do that. And this attorney, get this, the plot thickens even more, was involved with an FBI agent named Elvis Chan. Now, Elvis Chan was instrumental in, get this, Hunter Biden and the laptop censorship. So Elvis Chan went to Yoel Roth. You guys remember the story. Let's go back into the timeline here. Throughout COVID, there was this 2020, push to censor all kinds of information about COVID-19. And then all of a sudden, one day, the FBI goes to Yoel Roth, this FBI agent who has ties with this attorney who was working with Tony Fauci on censoring information. This FBI agent goes to Yoel Roth and says, hey, if anybody comes out and leaks information to you about Hunter Biden's laptop, we're aware that this could happen where somebody is going to leak information about Hunter. I need you there at Twitter to take it down. Twitter did exactly what the FBI told him. That is against the law. They are a platform, folks. They cannot do that. They cannot do that. But you conservative leaders, you don't do anything about this. Nobody does anything about this. Here's Fauci straight up lying. Is he actually going to? He lied. He gave sworn depositions, public statements as a government official, the highest paid government official in the United States. And he lied. And we can prove that. Is anything going to happen? No. No, 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 no. Fauci is going to walk away. And it's just like Alec Baldwin walking away. So down in New Mexico, the shooting charges were dropped against Alec Baldwin. You've been hearing it in our Fox News early this morning. And look, if you don't understand it, I mean, you have to understand what point of the movie you are in. We are living in a regime. If you don't have the regime behind you, then you're going to get rolled. This is a planet, this is a world where we are letting criminals walk free and we're letting the powerful walk free. And law-abiding citizens, the people who want to protect their kids, the people who show up to work and they get shot like Helena Hutchins did. Sorry, so sorry for you. Remember this day. Remember this story. Remember this story and how it made you feel. The same regime that would lock Trump up over a check, over writing a check, just let Alec Baldwin walk free, walk away after shooting a female staffer to death. If you or I were to do that, we would be locked up. I'm just saying, you're living under a regime, and you have to understand that. And you have to understand this is anarcho-tyranny. 309-451-9299. Do have to take a break, but we're going to be back here on the other side. Like I said, I do want to talk about these families who are kind of upset about how math is being taught in school right now, in classrooms right now. So there was a study done. It was, of course, funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And they're saying that Americans are largely unsatisfied with the way math is taught in our nation's classroom. What? You want the kids to know that there's no actual objective truth. The 2 + 2 does not equal 4. Actually, it equals 5 because why? We don't live in a world of truth. We just kind of live in a world where we make it up as we go. Yeah, that's why these leftists don't like it. On the other side, this is The Morning Buzz. Good morning. Good morning. Hey, this is the morning buzz. There's a few things that I want to bring up today that I'm not going to get to for the show, and because you guys are watching on YouTube, you get exclusive content here. So, um, there's one story. Tucker Carlson, his team tried to get recordings of any 911 calls made from the jail in New York the day Jeffrey Epstein died. So those recordings have been deleted. This is kind of wild. Um, Also, I've got this story here. Full Send, the host. So I don't know if you guys know what Full Send is. Full Send is a popular podcast. It's just kind of dorky, like guys. I mean, kind of like, yeah, okay, I'll just say fratty guys. I don't think that they would take offense to that. Um, but he praised Donald Trump in this sit-down interview on the Full Send podcast, and he told him that given the state of our country and world, his presence in the White House was sorely missed. Yes. Actually, hang on. I can pull up bits and pieces of that interview for you. And you guys are going to see this and totally laugh. Full Send is they're a bunch of funny guys. Here we go.
Like, I don't know, personally.
Hang on. There's the audio, and I want to show you guys the way it went down.
Like, I don't know, personally, me, I'm watching everything going on here and also abroad around the world. And I just feel like it's such a good time to have you on to speak because, like,
great.
I don't care what anyone says. Like, I don't care about the backlash. Like, I feel like we need you back right now. Like, we need you back in office. And, like, I feel like if people have anything against you, they got to put it aside because, like, I feel like you're the only one right now that can really fix the problems here and abroad.
Well, it's really nice that you say that. I appreciate it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Sharing that here with you on the Morning Buzz. Text in 309-451-9299. I'm going to read some comments. Hey, Cat. It is Cat. C-A-T. Yep. I do love listening to you daily. I especially love Scott Robbins segments. Scott grew up near me. Oh, wow. Really cool. Did not know that. Yeah, Scott Robbins is awesome. Taught me everything I know, and he's a great friend. Great friend. I have a blast. Scott Robbins joins me every morning at about 7:35, folks. Do you want to hit a story here coming out of Oregon? There's a drag queen mom. Have you guys heard of what a drag queen mom is? I'm going to put the definition here in the comments, and then you guys can kind of talk about it. Tell me. I guess I'm honestly kind of confused. I don't understand. I didn't know what a drag queen mom was. But apparently, a drag mom is a performer who teaches younger or inexperienced person the tricks of the trade. And this drag mom has now been faced with 11 felony counts of encouraging child sex abuse in the first degree. Wow. That's wild. These LGBT activists, I'm telling you, you got to look out for them. People use the activism as a means to groom children. That's bottom line. It's a former elementary teaching assistant and drag mom to a controversial child drag performer has been convicted now of 11 felonies over distribution of child sex abuse content and sentenced to less than a year in a county jail, in a local jail. So just another story here. Okay, hold on. We're going to be back. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. And coming up, a former Oregon elementary school teaching assistant, so was in the school, was also a drag mom to a controversial child drag performer, has now been convicted of 11 felonies over the distribution of child sex abuse content and sentenced to less than a year in a local jail. This seems a little light for me, right? I don't know. That's a little light of a sentence. Considering 11 felonies? Wow, that's insane. Now, you're probably wondering to yourself, what's a drag mom? So a drag mom is a drag performer who teaches a younger or inexperienced person the tricks of the trade. Oh, how sweet. How nice. We are going to get to that story here coming up in just a little bit. I do have a story here about math. So most Americans are unhappy with the way math is taught in classrooms. Okay. They're unhappy with the way math is taught in some classrooms. Nobody knows how to do basic math. So if you pull the stats, right, Unit 5, I think it's like 30% of kids can perform and do math at grade level and can actually do math. A lot of people, I mean, they say that, a lot of these people are saying that they don't like the way math is currently taught. I don't think it's taught at all. What do you mean most Americans are unhappy with the way math is taught in the classroom? I don't think it's taught at all. I think they're teaching kids about the LGBTQ nonsense. So here's a study funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. That shouldn't shock you. So Americans are largely unsatisfied with the way math is taught across the nation's classroom, according to a national survey of parents and school-age children, teachers, and adults. So the study was funded by the foundation, Bill Gates Foundation, and the public considers math the subject most in need of updating. Well, let's teach it, right? What do you mean it needs updating? I think it means we need to teach it. That's why the kids can't do math. That's why the kids can't succeed in STEM. It's because the kids aren't being actually taught math. Parents and teachers want to be want a more engaging set of math curricula with up-to-date lessons that are relevant and applicable to the real world. Okay, the study found. What do you mean applicable to the real world? Like word problems? I don't know what you mean about to the real world. Math is arbitrary. It's not arbitrary. It is an objective truth. 2 + 2 = 4. What do you mean applicable to the real world? It is the real world. Math is math. The result nationwide survey of 1,500 adults, 730 teachers, and 800 parents corresponded. Research shows that people see a disconnect between K through 12 math education, and they believe our young people need to thrive in life, and one students are actually getting. So they think that they're not excelling in math because it needs to change the curriculum. No, it needs to actually be taught. I don't think the kids are actually being taught math. I really do believe that. 309-451-9299. I do want to shift gears here. Heartbreaking story coming out of North Carolina, and I wanted to bring it up today because it matters. And I know that William White, the father in this story, is not going to be invited to the White House.
We are more than 24 hours into a manhunt for the suspect who allegedly opened fire on his neighbors and their kids. One child was hit in the face. Thank you for joining us. I'm Brian Blakely. Their father still in the hospital tonight. And take a good look of this mugshot of Robert Singletary. Gaston County authorities say he is wanted on 4 counts of attempted first-degree murder. Queen City News reporter Daniel Pierce live from Gaston County tonight. Daniel, you've learned more about why authorities say Singletary is dangerous.
Yeah, a lot of what we've been able to learn just in the past few hours has been coming from these court documents. These right here are from his arrest back in December, to where he is accused of assaulting his girlfriend and then kidnapping her. He has been out on bond since being arrested, and we do know that authorities have been called out to his home more recently there on April Drive. And you couple that with what happened last night, and neighbors say that it seemed as if he had no regard for human life.
He walked through his yard, and he said he was going to kill the kid. Why did you shoot my daddy and me? Said you shoot a kid's dad.
This dad, William White, in North Carolina. This is a heartbreaking story, a story out of North Carolina. It's a local crime story, and horrible things like this happen a lot every day. And my heart goes out to this family. Monsters are real. Monsters are real, and the person who did this is a monster. As I was reading the story, I came across the interview with the mother, and the mother of this 6-year-old child who almost was shot up. She gave a statement to the local media and possibly the police, I don't know for sure, but she talks about the heroism of her husband. And real quick update on this story, the arrest has been made in the shooting of the 6-year-old girl and her father. So Thursday, April 20th, yesterday at about 5 p.m., the Gaston County Police were notified by Hillsborough County Sheriff. It's an office in Tampa, Florida. So it was in Florida where the suspect was at after the shooting. And the suspect is 24-year-old Robert Singletary. And he turned himself in. Robert did not have any identification on him. The Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office processed Robert Singletary and confirmed his identity shortly before 7 p.m. And then they extradited him back. He's expected to appear in court today. And that's the update there. They've got him in custody. There was a manhunt for him. He was all the way in Florida, went back to North Carolina. They extradited him back. This dad, William White, I want to talk about him because his 6-year-old girl was playing basketball, down the street, and he was in a position where he could hear an altercation taking place after his 6-year-old's basketball rolled into this guy's driveway. And she's playing in the yard, and all of a sudden her basketball moseys on over into this guy's yard or driveway, whatever. And then this good dad, right? He's a good dad because he's on alert here, and he heard some sort of altercation. He went to go check, see what was going on. And then, it also says here that the mother was grazed by a bullet too, and the daughter was grazed by a bullet. The father's in the hospital right now. Why? Because he used his body as a shield. Taking bullets in the back that were intended for his 6-year-old girl. She's alive. She gave the interview. You heard it there. Men, dads, constantly vilified. But you know what? Dads never really get credit. And you know that they're going to be the first one there in these kinds of situations. And I know you don't want to be there in these kinds of situations, dads, but it ain't a choice. It's not a choice. It's the male burden of performance. It's what happens when you have a family. It's what happens when you have children. Not for a second do you ever think that you wouldn't do that for them. It's always them. It's always going to be them. William, he's not going to get invited to the White House, folks. In fact, CNN won't run any kind of specials. They probably won't even really run the story all that much. They might run it a little bit. I don't know. Probably not. Pray for this family. Pray for this family. Don Lemon, he's an animal. He actually was out there on the CNN with Vivek Ramaswamy. And I want to bring this up today because Vivek Ramaswamy, Charlie Kirk, he's got a Telegram video out there. Vivek Ramaswamy talking with Don Lemon about the Civil War. And Don Lemon says this to a 2024 GOP presidential candidate, Vivek Ramaswamy. This is the exchange that they had. Here we go.
What, do you have anything on this before I move on to China?
I don't see what one has to do with the other, but go on. I took up a lot of time with Fox
Oh,
News.
it's fine. We have time.
I don't really see what one has to do with the other, especially consider and using the Civil War to talk about Black Americans. That war was not fought for Black people to have guns. That's not.
That war was fought for Black people to have freedoms in this country. Yeah. Actually, that's why the Civil War was fought.
Okay.
And the sad
but that
part
wasn't
about it.
fought for Black people to have guns. I think.
Actually, you don't know, funny fact is, Black people did not get to enjoy the other freedoms until their Second Amendment rights were secured. And I think that that's one of the lessons that we learned.
Aren't allowed to enjoy the freedoms.
I disagree with you on that, Don. I disagree with you. And I think you're doing a disservice to our country by failing to recognize the fact that we have equality before the law.
Skin and you live in this country, then you can disagree with me, but we're not. You mentioned in here that
I
we have
disagree.
three different shades
Don, I
of
think we have to be
melanin
able to
here.
talk about these issues in the open, regardless of the color of our skin. Black Americans today, to say that, compare that to 1865 and 1964,
I think for you to compare it to
absolutely
1865 and
have equal rights
1964
in this
is
country.
actually, I think it's insulting.
Wow. There you have it. Vivek Ramaswamy really holding his own there. Don Lemon saying, when you are in black skin and you live in this country, you can disagree with me, saying that he can't disagree with him because Don Lemon is black. And Vivek Ramaswamy can't have any kind of conversation about or can't bring up the Civil War and what happened with the Civil War. I mean, he doesn't even want Vivek Ramaswamy talking about history. Is Don Lemon the dumbest man on TV? Comment if you're watching live on YouTube or on Facebook and send me a text. Is Don Lemon the dumbest man on TV? Yes, no, maybe so. 309-451-9299. I've got to take a quick break, but when we're gonna be back here, and I want to talk about BuzzFeed. 7 reasons BuzzFeed News is shutting down. And you won't believe number 3. I've got the layout here. All I've got to say, good riddance. I don't care if BuzzFeed is gone. They were communists anyway. Hey guys, good morning. Good morning. I am going to be talking a lot about this story here coming up. I'm going to post these 7 reasons. Charlie Kirk laid out these 7 reasons on his show, and I thought I'd share them with you here just because it's worth a rerun, right? Here we go. I'm going to paste this into the comments here, and you guys can be a part of the show by texting in. Here we go. So, 7 reasons BuzzFeed is shutting down, and you won't believe number 3. Here we go. We have, turns out, crummy. I gotta grab a quick phone call. I'm gonna get into these 7 reasons here. You won't want to stick around. Hold on. Okay, I am going to get into these 7 reasons here why BuzzFeed is shutting down. You won't believe it. Turns out crummy articles that don't pay in the long run. Who knew? Who knew? Getting into the 7 reasons here why BuzzFeed News is shutting down. Turns out these crummy listicle articles don't pay in the long run. A listicle article, as it's defined, it's an article written in a list format, and I'm sure you've definitely seen this before. And BuzzFeed, hang on, let me share with you the way they do this. It's very condescending, and that's why it doesn't work. And why they are failing. It's because these list articles suck. I mean, like, look at this. What does this tell me? Absolutely nothing. It's crappy journalism, and it's condescending, and it didn't work with people. So, turns out that listicle articles are not popular. On issues like LGBT insanity and anti-racism, BuzzFeed said that there are not two sides and that they wouldn't even pretend to offer objective reporting. Wow. According to FAIR, a left-wing media watchdog, BuzzFeed's coverage of Barack Obama was so fawning that it was creepy. And yeah, that's what they said about it. I mean, yeah, BuzzFeed's coverage of Barack Obama was weird. It's almost as bad as local media here, and they're fawning over the mayor and over the town of Normal. The published discredited Clinton finance PP tape hoax, P-tape dossier as news. So they published this discredited Clinton financed P-tape dossier. You guys remember that. Number 5, they published a hit piece claiming that President Donald Trump ordered Michael Cohen to lie to Congress, which Robert Mueller had to break protocol to immediately call out as false. So yeah, they published a hit piece. I mean, they are just so left-wing, it's not even funny. So that's the reason why BuzzFeed News is shutting down. They had to fire their top tech reporter, Ryan Broderick, after it turned out that he was plagiarizing people for his entire career. 7, nobody wanted to read them. Good riddance. That's why they're shut down. Nobody was reading them. Nobody likes left-wing content. I'm sorry. Again, Colson, if you can show me instances of pedophiles that have an activist agenda for the conservative ideology, and if you can show me a true conservative who is doing this to children, I would love to see the receipts. You just can't say blanket statements like that conservatives are grooming children. I didn't even say that about leftists. I said that the likelihood is high if they are an LGBT activist that they commit sex crimes. And that's just, I mean, I pull a story every single day. I give you the receipts, Colson. You got to give me receipts too, man. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. We had a caller on the line. She called in and she was talking about the Andrew Lester and Ralph Yarl story. And I am going to get to that story right now. I want to talk about how CNN is just gross. They want a race war. They're not talking about this one story. It's probably the largest mass shooting. I got to do some homework on that. I think it is. It's a huge shooting, though, folks, in Alabama. And CNN isn't talking about it. MSNBC, they're not talking about it. This is a huge story coming out of Alabama because all the suspects, look, it doesn't fit the narrative. That's why CNN won't talk about it. It doesn't fit the narrative. All the suspects and victims, black. Not all the victims were black. I should say that those who died were black. The 4. So in this shooting, 4 people dead, 32 injured, 4 of them critically. So this is a really sad story coming out of Alabama, small little town. It was a Sweet 16 birthday, and it was held at a dance studio just off the town square, and it was in full swing. People were having a good time, and then all of a sudden, gunfire just erupted, and it was just terrifying. Investigators, they haven't talked about a motive, and they don't know what led to the shooting, but they do have 6 people who have been charged in this case. They announced the 6th arrest yesterday, late last night. 15-year-old, juvenile. That's why there's no court records that have been released because of the person's age. He's only 15, and he's facing reckless murder charges in connection with this fatal shooting. So all 6 of these people, these suspects, are facing murder charges at some degree. And what's really sad is that this story fits the narrative. That's why they talk about it all the time. And we had a caller, and she says, look, this Andrew Lester and this 84-year-old who was, he's pretty much being vilified for being white by his own grandson. How sad. But she said he didn't get 84 years old by being stupid. That's what the caller said. And, the question is, was this shooting justified? At the time, police actually thought that it was justified. That's why they let Andrew go. So this is a bit that they had on CNN. First, I'm going to play for you an expert on the law there in Missouri. This has happened in Missouri. I'm going to play for you the expert first, and then the bit that they did on CNN regarding this Andrew Lester story.
Is not, was Andrew Yarl actually trying to attempting to unlawfully enter the home? That's not the right question. And if that's the question you're asking, you'll never get the right answer, legal answer. The correct legal question is, could Andrew Lester have reasonably perceived, under the circumstances, the totality of the circumstances, that Ralph Yarl was attempting to unlawfully enter his home? If the answer to that is yes, the shooting is lawful under Missouri law, because deadly force can be used to stop someone who's attempting to unlawfully enter a dwelling. Now, a caveat, because we have a factual dispute here. And the factual dispute is that Ralph Yarl, of course, was shot twice. Nobody contests that the first time he was shot, he was standing up, at least facing Andrew Lester's doorway. Lester says he was trying to open up the storm door of his home, which is the unlawful entry. And the only evidence against that is Ralph Yarl's own self-serving statement, right? They weren't able to exclude Ralph Yarl's fingerprints. There were fingerprints on the handle of the storm door that couldn't be matched to anybody, even Lester. They wouldn't match to Lester, the homeowner. So we can't exclude Ralph Yarl.
What was your reaction when you heard that your grandfather shot Ralph Yarl for ringing his doorbell?
I was disgusted. I thought it was terrible. Myself and my family stand with Ralph Yarl and seeking justice. This is a horrible tragedy. It never should have happened.
Folks are going to want to know, why are you speaking out and apparently against your grandfather?
It's the right thing to do. This country happens over and over again where people get away with killing unarmed, innocent black people. And I would have had the same energy for any other case like I've had over and over again in this country, like I said. So it's the right thing to do. People need to speak out and not make any excuses for this kind of behavior and this violence.
Do you believe your grandfather is racist?
Okay, here we go.
I believe he holds racist tendencies.
Uh-huh. And
beliefs.
Why do you say that?
He's just a stock American Christian male. It's older, that's just how they are. It's the conspiracies and weird random racist things they say, and it doesn't make sense, but they're just scared.
What? Oh my gosh. Please tell me that you guys heard the same clip I just did. Guys, are you serious right now? This guy is a clout chaser, this grandson of Andrew Lester. Guy's a total clout chaser, wanted his 5 seconds, not even 15 minutes of fame, he's wanted 5 seconds of fame, and you're not going to get famous off of this man. Guess what CNN won't tell you? That there's another grandson who actually says that his grandfather, Andrew Lester here, wouldn't have shot Ralph Yarl had he not felt Ralph was going to break in. Notice how the clout-chasing grandson didn't even bring up the facts of the case. He just went straight to sticking to the identities. And when he was asked the question, why is your grandfather racist? He says, oh, well, it's because he's white. What? What? It's because he's an American. It's because he's a Christian. What? What do you mean? The communist Don Lemon up there trying to get him to denounce his grandfather and trying to get him to confess to racism. Denouncing your parents and confessing that you're racist inherently because you're a white person. That kind of sounds like our public school system, doesn't it? That's what's crazy here, is that there's another grandson, and that no one's talking about this other grandson, and this grandson is saying that no one's talking about the perspective of Andrew Lester, his grandfather's point of view. In the state of Missouri, the law specifically points out that unlawful entry can be met with this sort of reaction. This reaction is legal, given the massive size, the time of night, Like, what was Lester supposed to do? I don't know what I would do in that situation, being a female, young female. I don't know what I would do in that situation. Am I to wait to see if he gets into the door? Because all we know right now is that there were fingerprints on the exterior door, and there's no way to really know anything else other than, he had his hand on the door, on the exterior door. And when Andrew Lester opened up the interior door, saw a big man standing there. He's 84 years old. His size is small. There's no way that Andrew Lester would have lived had Ralph not been who he says he is. Right? If he was Ralph says that he was there on accident, he went to the wrong house, and this is a tragic incident. I'm happy, praise the Lord, that Ralph is alive today. But ask yourself this question. If that were to be happening to you, what would you have done in that situation? And it's just so sad. We need more facts. We don't know all of the facts. All we know right now is that his fingerprints were on the exterior door. We know both sides of the story, kind of. But CNN is enabling someone to go on air and denounce their own grandfather to start a race war. That's what's happening there. 309-451-9299. I'm going to be back on the other side. Tom Davis telling you about a body that was found in an area by Bloomington police. She went missing on Monday. They found her yesterday. Tragic story. Prayers up for the family. Good morning. How are you guys? Good morning. Good morning. Thanks so much for joining me. Oh, the trolls are out again this morning. Thanks so much. I love when you guys listen. I so do appreciate it. We'll be back here on the other side. I do have a fun little news story to end with. How much do you spend on your pet? This is a fun one. I've got here pulled. For anyone who's ever wondered why a bedside pizza and a movie dispensing gadget doesn't exist. Well, apparently you're still out of luck, but your dog might be sitting pretty. So Axios reports this is an AI-powered device that dispenses treats and provides all-day scheduled and on-demand engagement for your dog. So this is an AI device for your dog, and it costs $14 million. They recently raised $6 million for a grand total of $14 million in capital. So if you want this for your dog, it's going to cost you about $16 million. But it's an AI machine, and through AI hardware, it constantly is like giving your dog like treats if it wants it, or it helps train the dog. So this is a kind of a fun story. We're going to be back here. I do have a story about this Oregon elementary teaching assistant, a drag mom, to a controversial child drag performer, has been convicted of 11 felonies over the distribution of child sex abuse content and sentenced to less than a year and a half in a local jail. Named Kelsey Boren, 33 years old, convicted in Lane County, Oregon on March 23rd of 11 felony counts of encouraging child sex abuse in the first degree. This is disgusting. Sex abuse of children, and this person worked as a teaching assistant for special ed. Can you imagine? So a drag mom, I guess, and this is what this person was, a drag mom, is a performer who teaches younger and inexperienced people the tricks of the trade. And she went by the stage name Always Craven and had been one of the several adults grooming the child into drag performing while she was like 7 years old. So they were grooming this child into drag performance. and this kid is like 7. And like yesterday, I say that I pull these stories every day, and I will continue to pull these stories because I want you to understand the likelihood your child will fall victim to a sex crime if their teacher is an LGBT activist. That's high. Okay, it just is, because it's a grooming tactic, and there's a logical explanation for this kind of stuff. Activism is enticing to children. Drag shows are enticing to children because it's so out there, it's so different, there's so much passion you throw behind it. Of course, kids are going to wonder what that is, and they're going to seek information from you, being the activist, the LGBT activist, because they think that you've got all the information in the world because of how passionately you speak on the topic. So they're going to want to learn more about it because at that age, they're craving information. Children are like sponges. They're constantly consuming information, and they're trying to decipher it and soak in the parts that will help them for their survival. It's just biological, right? That's what humans do, just in general, but it's specifically a time period where children are soaking information in as if they're sponges. So they're drawn to that LGBT activism, and these groomers know that, and they use the LGBT activism, and this is what Gays Against Groomers are. That's what they're all about. They say, look, we're not using activism like actual people in the gay community. We're not using our activism to try to entice children to be sexual, right? Or to sexualize children. We're not trying to use our activism to sexualize children. And if you haven't checked out the Twitter account, go look at Gays Against Groomers. Hey, good morning. This is the Morning Buzz. It's a Friday. Yes, I love Fridays. And folks, you guys won't want to miss it. It's Aldonzo and D's that's brought to you by EnviroSeal. If you've got some sinking sidewalks, they can raise those up. They've got some pretty cool lifting foam. Call my boy Jordan Lemons for that. So that's the Aldonzo and D's show on Saturday morning. It's kind of a different show. I will say that. It's a different type of show. And Aldonzo and D's, they're funny guys. So you guys are going to want to check that out. Also, the DPB show from 1 to 3 on Sundays. And then right after him, it's Kev Ferris, 3 to 5. You guys are going to want to check that out. Also, Cancel This with Ty Smith. He's on Saturdays, folks, from 3 to 5. And you can watch him on YouTube. He streams live. All of the shows are streamed live on our YouTube account. You can even catch my shows Saturday, Conservative Cat, and I stream it live here from the studio. So this is a story I've got here. The Louisville mass shooter, Connor Sturgeon, wrote a 13-page manifesto wherein he outlined the motives for his attack. And you guys remember the Louisville shooting, devastating. He shot all of his colleagues. This is a heartbreaking story out of Louisville, Kentucky. So the 3 motives for the attack. Number 1, to prove how easily it is to buy a gun when you are going through a mental health crisis. Number 2, to highlight America's mental health crisis. Number 3, to kill himself. So Connor Sturgeon was a homicidal left-wing gun activist. Just let that sink in for a minute. Now I've got to go. Wow, it's already 9 o'clock. Did you guys know you can actually purchase something for your pets? It's called, it's AI. So your dog can get this little thing. It's where it dispenses treats and provides like scheduled on-demand engagement for your dog throughout the day. It puts you back about $14 million, but we don't even get that as humans. Are you willing to pay $14 million? I think it's $14 million for this AI machine. Text me, let me know your thoughts. 309-451-9299. You guys have a great rest of your day. It's Friday. Bye-bye. I love you. Glenn Beck is up after me. Then Dan Bongino, Sean Hannity, and Mark Levin.